Welcome back to the deep dive. We crack open the sources, jump inside, and pull out the insights you need to know.
Great to be diving in again.
So today, we're tackling a question that feels, well, it feels like it's getting closer every day. Could an AI doctor see you now?
It really is. It's
Yeah.
moving fast from, science fiction to actual clinical practice in some areas.
Absolutely. We've been looking at a conversation exploring artificial intelligence, AI, and how it's really making inroads into medicine.
Hmm.
So our goal for this deep dive is to unpack how AI is being used right now, today, in healthcare.
Yeah.
What's its potential? Can it help? Maybe even replace? That's a big
A
question.
huge question.
And what does this all mean for us, as patients, as people? We'll pull the key insights right from that source material.
Yeah, it gets into some really fundamental stuff. Trust, capability, what care even looks like in the future.
Okay, let's get straight into it then. When we say AI in healthcare, it sounds a bit high level. What's it actually doing down in the weeds in a medical context?
Right, so fundamentally we're talking about complex computer systems.
Yeah.
And they're designed to do tasks that, well, normally need human intelligence.
Okay.
In medicine, that means things like analyzing huge amounts of data. Could be medical images, patient histories, genetic stuff, spotting patterns and all that complexity, and then using those patterns to help make decisions or predict outcomes.
So it's more than just crunching numbers. It's like simulating analysis, simulating intelligence almost.
Exactly. Think of it like learning from experience, but just on a massive, massive scale. A key part of AI, machine learning, lets these systems train on enormous volumes of real medical data.
Right.
So the more data they see, thousands and thousands of, say, medical scans or patient records, the better they get at spotting particular signs linked to certain conditions or risks.
And this ability, learning and analyzing so much data, what does that let AI do in real terms for doctors or patients?
Well, the source pointed to a few key things. One big one is identifying diseases from medical data, sometimes earlier, sometimes maybe more accurately than we could before.
Mm.
Another is predicting future health risks. And it's also starting to speed up how we find and develop new drugs. Because it can process so much information so fast, it can see connections or test ideas way quicker than, the old ways.
Okay, let's make that more concrete. People often talk about AI spotting early signs of cancer on a scan. How does that actually work?
Right, so a medical scan, like an X-ray, an MRI, a CT scan,
Yeah.
these images hold a huge amount of visual information.
Okay, yeah, I know scan just means those pictures inside your body.
Exactly. And radiologists are incredibly skilled at reading them, but it's really complex work. Subtle things matter.
Mm-hmm.
So AI systems can be trained on these massive databases of scans. Some scans are labeled normal, others show specific things like tumors or other abnormalities, things that aren't normal.
So the AI learns what normal looks like
Yeah.
and what different abnormal things look like.
Precisely. It learns the specific textures, shapes, maybe densities that link up with a certain disease. Then you give it a new scan, it analyzes it super quickly, compares it against everything it's learned, and flags areas that look suspicious or different from the norm.
But the source was really clear, wasn't it, that this isn't about the AI taking over from the radiologist?
Absolutely not. And this is critical. The source stressed augmentation, not replacement. The AI is like a really smart assistant.
Okay.
It can pre-screen scans maybe, help prioritize urgent cases, or highlight specific spots for the human expert to really focus on. It can speed things up, potentially catch things that might be missed when someone's really busy.
Right.
But the final call, the actual diagnosis, which just means identifying the disease or condition that still rests with the human doctor, they bring the context, the experience, the judgment.
Okay, so imaging is a big one. Where else did the source say AI is popping up in medicine?
There were quite a few examples. Predictive analytics, which we mentioned, natural language processing, that's AI understanding human language, like reading doctors' notes or research papers to pull out key info.
Mm-hmm.
Robotic surgery is getting smarter with AI helping with precision. And those virtual health assistants, chatbots for patients.
Let's dig into predictive analytics a bit more. What does that actually mean for a patient? What does it look like?
Okay, so predictive analytics in healthcare means using lots of past data, like your electronic health record, maybe genetic info, data from your smartwatch even, to try and forecast the chances of you developing a certain condition or having some kind of health event later on.
So it's not just a guess. It's based on finding patterns in the data.
Exactly that. It's evidence-based forecasting. The source gave a good example, figuring out if someone's at high risk for a heart attack. And AI looks at that patient's data, maybe their blood pressure trends, cholesterol, family history from their chart, lifestyle stuff like diet. It compares all that to patterns it learned from looking at maybe thousands or millions of other patient cases and what happened to them.
Okay.
If that patient's profile strongly matches the profiles of people who did have heart attacks, the AI can flag them as high risk.
And this is all driven by algorithms, right? That's the term we hear a lot.
Correct. An algorithm is basically the engine doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like a very detailed set of rules or steps the computer follows to solve a problem.
So like a recipe.
Kind of, yeah. Very complex recipe. In healthcare, the recipe is designed to spot these complex links in the data, links a human might miss or take ages to find. And these algorithms get better and better through machine learning as they see more data. They learn which factors are the strongest predictors.
So the algorithm finds the patterns, predictive analytics uses those patterns to look ahead.
You got it. The algorithm is the how. Predictive analytics is the what, applying it to forecast health outcomes.
And those chatbots, the virtual assistants, how do they fit in?
They're often like a first point of contact. They can answer basic questions, give info on symptoms based on what you tell them, maybe guide you on whether you need to see a doctor or help book an appointment.
Right.
The source had this example. Someone describes a cough to a chatbot. The bot asks specific follow-up questions, how bad, how long, other symptoms, using its algorithm to figure out the best next step. Maybe it suggests seeing a doctor if certain flags pop up, or maybe just rest in fluids if it sounds like a common cold.
Wow, okay. There's clearly a lot of potential there, making things faster, maybe more accessible. But the source also spent a good chunk of time on the downsides, the risks, and challenges.
It really did. And that was a crucial counterpoint. A huge concern mentioned was how much AI depends on its training data. If that data is flawed, incomplete, wrong, or critically, if it reflects existing biases, then the AI learns those flaws and biases too.
Meaning it could give wrong answers or be unfair to certain groups of people?
Precisely. Like if an AI tool for spotting skin cancer is trained mostly on images of lighter skin, it might not work well for people with darker skin because it hasn't learned what lesions look like in that context. This isn't just theoretical, it's a real documented issue.
And another big risk they pointed out was over-reliance.
Yes, exactly. Over-reliance, just depending too much on something. In this case, the danger is doctors or clinicians trusting the AI's output too much without using their own critical thinking and experience.
And why is that so dangerous?
Well, imagine an AI flags something on a scan. The radiologist is maybe rushed or just assumes the AI is right and confirms it without a proper double check. Or the opposite, the AI misses something subtle that a human would have caught, but because the AI didn't flag it, it gets overlooked. The source really hammered this home. AI is a tool to help experts, not replace their judgment. Over-reliance can lead to serious diagnostic errors, mistakes with real patient harm.
So the message from the source is definitely AI should enhance or augment what humans do, not take over.
Absolutely. That word augment is perfect. It means to add to or enhance something. AI should make clinicians better, faster, more effective, maybe freeing them up for the things only humans can do.
And speaking of things only humans can do, the source highlighted something really important that AI just doesn't have.
That'd be empathy.
Empathy, that ability to understand and sort of share someone else's feelings. Why is that so vital in medicine?
Because healthcare isn't just about fixing a biological problem based on data points. It's about caring for a whole person. A good doctor, a good nurse, they connect with you. They get your fear about a diagnosis or your pain or how frustrating a chronic illness is. They talk with compassion, build that trust, give emotional support.
Which lines of code can't do.
Exactly. An AI might process your symptoms, suggest a diagnosis based on probabilities, list treatment options from a database, but it can't, sit with you, maybe hold your hand, metaphorically speaking, offer genuine comfort, or grasp the deep personal impact of being sick. That human element, that empathy and compassion, the source argued, is absolutely irreplaceable. It has to stay at the center.
Which brings us neatly to the ethical stuff the source raised. Privacy, bias, transparency, these sound like massive hurdles.
Oh, they're huge, paramount. Patient data privacy is non-negotiable. AI in healthcare deals with the most sensitive info about us, our histories, genetics, treatments. Making sure that data is handled super securely, following rules like IPAL. It's incredibly complex, but absolutely critical.
Yeah.
A breach here is catastrophic.
In bias, we touched on that unfair leaning in the AI's decisions because its training data wasn't fair.
Right. And fixing bias isn't easy. It means really working hard to make sure training data is diverse, representative, and then constantly checking how the AI performs for different groups to catch and fix problems. It's an ongoing job.
And transparency, that need
Yeah.
for clarity, openness.
Yeah, this is often called the black box problem. If an AI suggests a diagnosis, can the doctor understand why? Can they see the reasoning, the data points that led to that conclusion? For a tool that could influence life or death decisions, being able to understand or at least verify its reasoning is vital for trust, for accountability. If it makes a mistake, we need to know why.
So putting it all together, what was the source's bottom line on how we navigate all this? How do we make sure AI is used for good in healthcare?
The clear message was we urgently need strong frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, strict rules, industry standards, and this is key, mandatory human oversight at critical points.
Right.
Developing AI, testing it, using it, watching it all needs to be guided by ethics and checked constantly to make sure it's safe, effective, fair, and protects privacy. It's not just about building powerful tech, it's about building responsible tech.
Okay, so pulling back, the big picture from this deep dive seems to be AI is this incredibly powerful, transformative tool for medicine. It can do amazing things, spot diseases earlier, predict risks, make things more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely presented as a tool, not magic, and certainly not a replacement for human doctors or that crucial human connection.
Yeah, it holds out the promise of, faster diagnosis, maybe more personalized treatments. And perhaps, just perhaps, if we do it right, it could actually give doctors more time to focus on the patient, not just the paperwork and the data.
This has been a really fascinating look at AI moving into medicine. It's clear the AI doctor can help you now, in lots of ways, often behind the scenes, but that idea of a fully independent AI physician, well, it still raises a lot of questions.
Questions we're really only just starting to figure out as a society.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And that leaves us with a final thought, maybe a provocative one, to mull over, building on this whole discussion about augmentation, empathy, and balancing tech with human care.
Okay.
As AI gets better and better at handling the data, the diagnostics, the science part of medicine, how do we make absolutely sure, consciously and actively, that the essential art of medicine, that human connection, the empathy, the compassionate presence doesn't get pushed aside, but actually remains the real core, the beating heart of healthcare?
That's the crucial question for the future of healing, isn't it?
It really is. We hope this deep dive helped shed some light on this incredibly important frontier for you. Stay curious about how technology is shaping our world.